use whatsoever for my behavior. And hey, true believers, England team here with Dalton the Authenticator.
Hello, everyone.
And LK the sports fan.
Yeah, well, that works. That works for tonight,
I guess.
Well,
yeah. Then, not that the topic's on sports or anything like that, but
you can tell because Eric's not here.
Right. Oh, I wanted to kind of move that over. So I'm what's his name? Zerg or whatever is the Power Rangers guy.
Zordon
So anywho,
is the one you're thinking of.
There's a scandal going on. It has been for a while. I've kind of kept silent about it and everything. I just wanted to see. Like I was absolutely sure there was another shoe to drop, right? So the CGC thing came up. We did talk about a little bit in which I went, we only know about one guy. That was what I said about. That was my only statement as far as this whole CGC thing came up. And, you know, there was like 8 or 15 comics from this one guy that showed up that kind of scammed CGC. The scam is this. They get the slabs. They use a heat gun to pop it open so it doesn't look like it's been tampered with. They say you get a 9.8 on a high-grade valuable book.
Mm-hmm.
So you pop it open, you slide the high grade out, you put the low grade in that now you could put on eBay or something with a 9.8. It's really an 8.5. I'm just naming out numbers just to keep the story going. And, you know, then once they send that one, you send that high grade back to CG, wash, rinse, repeat. And that has been a scandal that's been going on.
It's basically comic book counterfeiting, almost.
Kind of just like that. And there's a lot of stuff that's been going on in the speculator community that's kind of jinky. There's a guy I discovered when somebody commissioned a video from me. It was, is Comic Tom 101 destroying the comic book hobby? My first thought was no, they're just telling you what's going on, and all that kind of stuff. Like, oh, this is what people are buying. And then I thought, wait a second, hold on. Since then, I've got to change my story for a couple of reasons. One, they started saying stuff like, oh, they got a top 10 where it's like, this is the 10th hottest book. This is the 9th hottest book. Wait a second. If you're going on sales, where are you coming from? Just CGC? Because I go over to eBay, and on any given day, there's 50 or 60 of every freaking book being sold. So what is your, you know, are you just saying? And then I discovered Comic Tom has an auction. Now, isn't that convenient? Oh, do you know what? Because a lot of variants show up in that top 10. And I don't know of, and it could just be this crowd, but I don't know of anyone who collects variants as a must-have. Like, okay, this one might be good. Okay, I'll pick this up. But there's they act like there's a huge ass market that is driving the speculation, that's driving the comic book collecting market. Not just a niche, but this is the whole thing. It's going off on the backs of these 1 in 150.
At that point, it's almost a circular market of this is selling because I say it's worth selling, and therefore
that's not the only thing that it was piled on. The movie speculation as well. Mm-hmm. Where it would be like, oh my gosh, there's a rumor that this character is going to be in this movie. We must go buy all of them. And I've been watching all of these speculator channels. Well, I can't say all, but a lot of them. And most of them will say, every time I see this, I buy this and I hold it. Because someday, every time I see it, and this is channel after channel after channel, talking about how they are buying these books and squirreling them away. You are creating a false freaking market, which is literally going to collapse what you think it's going to do, because inevitably, and this happened with Blue Beetle this year, inevitably what happens is they hold these books. And I saw like Jaime Reyes, not the first appearance of Jaime Reyes, but the first appearance of Blue Beetle with Blue Beetle on the cover. It was going up like $25, $30. I'm like, no, that's 10, maybe 15 tops. And then you see it hit 50 and somebody, oh, it's a 9.8. I'll pay $150 for it because of the movie. Well, then now we have the movies collapsing, and there are a lot of speculators out there crying. And because one thing that happened was, as soon as the movie trailer dropped, the market was flooded with all these books that these speculators have been holding on to. They create a false market, making you think, oh, this is scarce. This is scarce. The most recent thing, and this is Comic Tom. This is on Comic Tom right here. The most recent one is there was a rumor that Taylor Swift was going to play Dazzler in the Deadpool movie. And all of a sudden, this book is now $50 to $100. And Dazzler, for the last 40 years, I think the top you get is $20.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that people have started noticing. They're getting scared of. They're getting sick of. And
It's
then
a con.
comes the CGC slab. Man, if anything, these guys put out there, Swaggle House, Comic Tom, any of them, those are the two big names I remember, is they talk about those 9.8s. Okay. And once again, oh, here we go. One slick say, I believe Go Collect lists CGC major book sales for their pricing aspects they offer through their services. CGC is trying to do damage control. Yep. We're going to pay attention to a little bit of this. This is cgccomics.com. January 3rd, 2024, the Certified Collectibles Group is aware of an incident involving an individual tampering with CGC Comics. It's not an individual, dudes. It isn't. Okay, based on current information, we believe that approximately 350 books were affected. Man, you could think you can do all the, well, we guess it's only 350 all you want, but I'll guarantee you it is more.
It's a con industry, basically.
That's the initial number.
That was the initial number. I thought it was only 15 to 20.
No, as it says, based on current information.
Well, yeah, but this started before January 3rd, so that's where but okay, I'll concede. Oh, I thought you were going to say more.
No, go ahead.
Okay. It says, if you purchase one of these comics included in this list, you could submit it to CGC Comics for review. Instruction to submit an eligible book for review or below. If your book is determined to be correctly graded, it will be reholdered with a new. Who freaking cares? That's not the problem, CGC. The problem is somebody freaking scammed,
figured out how to run the game.
A whole bunch of people are out of money. That's their problem. It's not that, oh, my book is mislabeled, I need it to go from a 9.8 to an 8.5.
If you read further, they're also going to basically start a process to, make that person whole. Okay. So this part here is just to basically correct the issue of those books that they've identified. So that's what they're saying. If you purchase one of these books on the list, you can submit it review. They determine it was correctly graded. It'll be reholdered.
Well, let me get through this. If you're about to tell me what we're about to read, let me just go on. And the list of impacted comics will be periodically updated as books are submitted for review. Our goal is to remove all impacted certification numbers from the market and ensure that anyone who purchased one of these books is appropriately compensated for losses. Thank goodness. Yeah, you are right. That's what I was getting to. This is a money thing. If somebody paid for a 9.8 price on a 7.5, absolutely. CGC exists to protect the collecting community, and in the last 36 years, we've certified more than 85 million collectibles, each one backed by a comprehensive guarantee. The trust that we have built with our community sometimes makes us a target of bad actors, if you want to go that way. Okay, and then it gives the instructions, and we do have a list of the comics.
Yeah, and see, I think you're conflating a couple of issues here.
Go on ahead. Please tell me where I'm wrong.
Well, there's the Comic Tom speculation you're talking about.
But for
the most part, this CGC thing is different. If you go and look at the books, we're talking about it's a lot of early Silver Age, a lot of some Golden Age, Copper Age. very little modern stuff. Very little of the first appearance of Blue Beetle or the first appearance of Dazzler or the first appearance of Echo type stuff. It's the creme de la creme of books.
Right.
You saw it on there. Amazing Spider-Man #1, #2, #3. Those are going to be valuable no matter what. It's that basically, at least right now, they know that one guy found a loophole in the system. And I think that, if they do their due diligence, essentially you're going to find out what happened is that they didn't have enough employees on staff to do the reholdering, do all the grading because of the increase in the demand for getting books slabbed. And so when a book would come in for reholdering, they would just go, okay, yeah, that's the serial number on the slab. Yeah, the outside, it looks fine. We'll just drop it in the new one, make the update or whatever. Because a few of these were, basically saying that a book had the Mark Jewelers certificate in it when it did, and things like that. So, he basically found a loophole in the system in terms of just a lax process that it developed probably because of the volume that they were doing.
Yeah. By the way, I don't let them off the hook. I'm sorry. I am not trusting of CGC. I haven't been since I read their guidelines about 15, 20 years ago. It absolutely said, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they say something different now, that when you send it in, you pay a fee plus, it used to be plus value, which right then is an incentive to make sure that the value is higher than what it might actually be. I actually said this once, had somebody get mad at me. I'm like, okay, you just, fine. CGC is the only freaking company in the world that doesn't want to make more
again,
money.
that is different though from
it's not.
No, it is, because
it isn't, because I'm talking about the entire freaking speculation. I'm talking about the whole thing has been,
but
it's been corrupt since the very beginning.
You're trying to just grab everything and dump it in one.
That is what I'm doing. Yes, I'm not trying to. I am telling you flat out
then you're
that it has been
conflating
bad
things
since the
and
beginning. I'm not conflating. I'm flat out putting them together. I'm telling you, this isn't a one-time thing. It's not a steak. It's a stew.
It's not. It's not puzzle pieces though that you think you're trying to put together.
Have you ever tried to make a puzzle out of a stew?
They're all different. They're all different issues.
Okay, he's making a parallel. He's not saying they're identical systems. He's making a parallel.
This entire thing, since it first came out, has been corrupt. That's what I've been saying. That this whole thing, the people are glomming onto it. This is the baseball card collectors from the 1990s all over again, and a lot of us saw it at the beginning. That's what's been going on, and that's what's happening. That's why I started off talking about how you have people who are just hoarding shit away, making a false freaking market the same way they did in the 90s. It was a false market because everybody was buying 50 cases of Turok #1. That, by the way, it wasn't the death of Superman. It was really Turok #1 that destroyed the community the first time. If you want to point to one book, it's so much more than just that. But if you want to point to one book, that was the big speculator crash right there. That was the one that people said is going to be worth $1 gajillion and wasn't worth shit.
It was the .comic bubble, if you will, but I'm Ching.
Well, the thing is when Marvel Comics was bought out, I forget the corporation, in the early 90s, they decided they were going to defeat everybody by flooding everything. And then you had the speculator market come in and people were buying 5, 10 copies of a comic, expecting it, of course, to put their children through college and such. So they actually created a false market, and that's what's going on right now. So yes, I'm attaching the CGC thing to this because it's the same freaking crowd doing the same freaking shit. It is. Are they two different parts of this? Sure, fine. I'll accept that. But it is the same.
The parallel is there.
Yeah. It's the same sandwich. It's the same soup, whatever you want to call it. It's just different aspects of it. And that's what's been going on for quite a while here. Maranya said, I remember seeing 9/8 slabs of newer books such as Spawn 300 to cash in on speculators. I don't know if I would call a 30-year-old book a new one, though. Oh, Spawn 300.
Relatively.
No. I saw Spawn and I thought Spider-Man, so I apologize. Yeah, sorry about that. Doing this frankly predatory and stupid in my humble opinion. Once like CGC came up with a list very quickly, which is suspicious to say the least, as once like my guess is what they did was they got his name and then got his books and were able to go. So yeah. I guess,
initially, I'm sure they used all the information that, has been provided, been talked about on the CGC forums.
So you're on CGC's side on this one.
No, only in the sense of so far, it seems like they're doing the right thing. Now, again, when I said originally they put out a good initial statement, I think this is a good first step. But, let's continue to see what actions they do. Do they really try to cover it up? Do they wind up just, now that they put this list out saying, oh, it's just these 350, it was just this one guy, everything else is fine? Then that raises questions. But if they continue to do things to try and keep their credibility, that's fine. And that's separate from whether or not you think slabs are good or not. I mean, that's I
see. This is kind of funny because usually you're the black pill. You're the more negative person than I am. I see this as a cover up. This what I just read off, that was a yank fest. They have no clue. There is no. I'm okay. Maybe there is a way.
Just because they don't have a clue doesn't mean it's a cover up.
The thing is
completely different.
It's okay. It's a soft blanket, whatever you want to call it. I'm calling it a cover up because what they're doing right here is they're getting out there. They're trying to placate everybody. Look, we're on it. We're on it. We're on it. No, you're not, because you think it's one guy. They're writing it like it's one guy. It's not one guy.
It's an industry.
At least right now, that's all they know. Hey, even the CGC forums basically were pinning it down to one guy so far. I mean, they're still investigating. That's the thing. You've got a community, and with the internet, you've got a ton of internet sleuths right now that are out there scouring everything, especially because they've got a financial interest in it. If they have some of these books,
2 words. You're writing so far like that. I'm saying the letters should be that big. Serious. I don't think that this is over. Maybe I'm the paranoid one on this one. Maybe I'm the
I'm not saying it's over either. This is
not 350 books.
It maybe or may not be. Books. We don't know yet. But that's the initial list they put out there. Because again, here's the thing. If they had like delayed a week or two more, oh yeah, we're still investigating, then people would have said, oh, now you're trying to cover it up. So
okay, maybe softball it would be a better term. They want to get it out there. They want to get it while the number's low, and we're getting on it. We're there. But I still think they're going to find out. I think we're going to see it into the thousands before.
Well, and here's the simple fact of the matter. The one guy they think is behind all of it is the one guy they caught. And knowing how the internet works and knowing how sketchy people can be when it comes to cons, especially when it comes to vintage stuff and antiques, which is basically what this is. The one guy they caught is the one guy who was stupid enough to get caught. It's not that he was the one and only first person to come up with this idea.
Yeah, is he the guy who told his friends, or did his friend tell him about it? And that's all it would take. And let me say before you go on, somebody scamming CGC is kind of CGC's fault, but also they're not to be blamed 100%. Obviously, they came up with a system they didn't know somebody was going to circumvent. There is a bit of honor you hope people have, and in this case, they didn't. That being said, yeah, I was against. I am. I just don't like the idea of CGC in the first place. It has created a false market. This whole speculator craze that I am putting everything in. I'm having a conversation not just about CGC, but this entire freaking industry that's popped up
the base premise of it is
where
wrong.
everybody's telling everybody they don't give a what's in between the covers of these comic books. They just care what that number is on the slab. It could be in anything in those slabs, so long as they get what they. I don't, and I think that overall, yes, this has hurt the comic book collecting community. So I am tonight putting all of that in because I have been watching. I did one video and realized I hadn't even freaking scratched the surface. So yeah, I got to admit, I get a little bit of a smile on my face when I see everybody panicking because nobody wants to watch superhero movies anymore. And Comic Tom helped the freaking rumor that Taylor Swift was going to be playing Dazzler. Hey, maybe she is, and we haven't heard it official yet. But the rumor came about because of her relationship to Ryan Reynolds and his wife, and she was seen on the set. The director played coy about whether or not she filmed a cameo or not. So, people are trying to connect the dots. Is it legit? Who knows? Who knows? Does it make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, it would be a good move for them to make, even
but
just on paper.
But if you want another one, the Weasel from Suicide Squad went from $1 book to a $35 book because people hid them away, and then of course it's a $1 book. And people buy these things, and people have been getting burned by it.
Well, but again, that's just
what ends up happening.
That's just the nature of it, because again, it's that nature of people looking to make a fast buck.
And also what ends up happening
on that wave.
And what ends up happening also is when you get somebody who is popular at this, they're no longer reporting the market. They're
shaping it. They're making it.
And once again, as I said, isn't it convenient that they're doing an auction at the same time?
At that point, it's literally the fiddle game con, the classic maneuver.
So I've watched these guys. I've watched
that auction has the exact books that he's talking about. Then yes, absolutely.
Some have. But so I do not trust this community of the speculator, the YouTube speculator market. I'm sorry, I just don't. I've watched them too many times, and they're never saying stuff like, well, I can't say never, but usually they're not saying, oh wow, these stories are coming out and this is why you should buy. They're about to do a big push on this character in the comics. It's always outside forces. So it's not going to last. And what we have seen, what we have absolutely seen, what we absolutely have seen is these books have begun to crash hard. So yeah, I don't trust the speculator market. Let's see if this gets worse. Will the books that are slab just dip in price? I think that's what is going to happen. I've actually I've seen some reports, and some people are talking about how it seems it has hit, there has been a drop in the market, and others say, nah, this hasn't.
Well, this is what we were just talking about with the circular nature of the bubble that is the market. CGC's slabbing is only as valuable as people trust CGC's credibility. If CGC's credibility takes a hit, then it all falls apart like a house of cards.
Well,
or again, at the very least becomes smaller and it becomes less prestigious. And the main thing that CGC sells itself on is the prestige. So
Maranya, I think
that's the logical. That's why it's logical to think, at least right now, that they're going to do everything they can to repair their credibility by trying to get out in front of this and identify as many bad actors as possible, because they can't have that lingering doubt after they say, yes, there's no more books out there, or we have solved it. And people say, oh, you have? What about this, this, and this? Then that's going to continue to diminish. But we'll see. Again,
I think the genie is out of the bottle, though, at this point, I think is the thing. Like, especially in the social media age, especially in the internet era, there's no way of putting this particular genie back in the bottle, methinks. I could be wrong, but I think the smoke has already presaged fire enough that it's a downward spiral from here.
I don't know. I don't see the thing is the people who are into this are really into this. So I think if they could come up with anything to grab onto to say, hey, we were right, it's not that bad, they're going to. I absolutely believe that is something that will happen.
But how much of that is just going to come off like trying to play the optics game and cover their asses?
Oh, it might be all of it, but they'll be happy because they can.
Well, they can go few all they want. I'm just saying that de facto, I don't think. I think the boulder has already started rolling downhill, and now it's just going to do what it's going to do.
It might just. I'm just telling you. I've seen already people are grabbing on just like LK. Oh my gosh, they put out a great statement. I love it. CGC's back, guys. And
I said no such thing.
This is what they're saying. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
But they're far more positive than a lot of other people as far as this is concerned.
Well, how long is that going to last? How long before the internet at large declares it copium, and then because again, when you're at the whims of the social media age, you have to know how they're going to react to things.
I think they're going to be the old man at the bottom of St. Helens. I've lived here for 93 years. I ain't moving in an inch, and he ends up dying in a volcano. I think a lot of them are going to take that. They're going to take that way. Until they could look and go, hey, CGC's okay again, guys. See, told you. But it's whether or not are you going to follow along or not? You know, are you going to be, hey, yeah, they're
well, and that's what I'm saying. The hardcores are going to hardcore, you know, no matter how they, no matter what happens, basically. But how much of the average normie, the average person looking into the situation from the, you know, internet is going to look at that and go, you hardcores are huffing copium, and this is dead now.
Yeah. One video I've wanted to make with Eric, because this is his job, it's what he does at his shop, is to go through all of these key issues that have just skyrocketed, especially when everybody was at home, nothing to do, had free money. The prices on some of these key books went insane, far beyond what they should be. And I thought it might be fun to go through these and go, okay, you know, this is what we think this should be and everything. Let's settle the market down a little bit. People don't want that though. They want Comic Tom. They want Swaggle House. Oh, this is worth $1 gajillion. And
well, of course you want, if you've got a special book, yeah, you want to hear that it's worth a whole lot of money, not, you know, some average price. So, and one slick dude, I'm sorry, I got to take exception to that in terms of, from what I've seen, CGC hasn't been attacking anyone.
I haven't seen. I've seen more of the speculators rather than CGC attacking.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm going to say that's still been minor. I mean, I know actually one of the first videos that I came across, you know, talking about this was that Swaggle Puss or whatever Swaggle House, yeah, and he's been right out in front of it. So, you know, I don't see anybody necessarily, you know, attacking people trying to downplay the issue. You know, so it may be out there, but I think it's a small subset.
It may be just.
He just clarified he didn't mean CGC themselves. He said the supporters of CGC.
Yeah, so well, it's because once again, you don't want to hear that your books aren't what they were. And they
just like
well, again though, here's one of the things I think people necessarily are overlooking is that one of the reasons how this got caught is you can go on the CGC website, type in a serial number, and see a high-res scan of the book. That was how people started identifying this, going, wait a minute, this number is saying that this is a 9.6, you know, or a 9.4, you know, X-Men, you know, 101, and wait, you know, my book's got this spine tick, and this spine tick, and this, you know, picture here on the CGC website doesn't have that. What's going on? That's how they started to identify this.
Okay,
So-
first poll of the night. There you go. Does it freak you out that LK is actually the positive one and I'm going negative on this? Yes or no?
And I'm just kind of in the middle trying to
that's
check
the,
which way the
poll
wind is
vote.
blowing, I guess.
I
Yeah,
guess the
or-
thing is, I'm not seeing myself necessarily as positive on this. I'm just not ready to completely, dump on them. I'm taking a rational viewpoint on this.
Okay, now here's something that I will admit about it as far as this whole thing is concerned. The video I did was 2 years ago, and I've kind of fallen down the rabbit hole. It's a hobby of mine watching these guys get mad, sad, and glad over whatever book they can point to and go, hey, look, this book I'm holding is worth $1 gajillion because it's a 9.8. And don't you want to get it because they're in the background of said movie? And I've been watching this whole thing, and it's kind of been disgusting to me. That might be a too harsh word, but it really has. It's like, dude, do you even care what you're holding?
Yeah,
What you're
no,
talking about?
It's Schadenfreude.
It's
and-
laughable.
no,
and
hold on, let me
it's-
finish my point, and then we'll jump on me. And so I can actually admit to the fact that this is just climbing on top and just piling on to the point where I'm seeing it collapse. I have with the Marvel Phase 4 is the first big hit. The start of Phase 5 of the second big hit, because they're like, oh, what are we going to base our speculation on anymore? And I am not kidding. That is a question that has been asked. And it's add on to the CGC thing, which has messed up comic book collecting for the average collector, the one that actually wants to fill out their runs and doesn't just look at their phone at their key collector app and just go after this book and this book. It's like Eric would say, you could have yourself a run of Titans for $1 each if it wasn't for the speculator crowd and one book, which is of course the Batman Who Laughs. So I get that. I do, like you said, Dalton, have a little bit of Schadenfreude towards this, and by a little bit, probably a heaping helping.
Well, I mean, we all do it. Like, I sometimes watch, like, Armin from Comic Book Cast 2 or Grace Randolph, and when they say a stupid thing, I do get a little bit of enjoyment out of when they're wrong, because they obviously were wrong all along, and the chickens come home to roost. So I get it. The Schadenfreude is definitely a thing. Or, even more so with the Black Pills. When the Black Pills get something wrong, then it's like, well, yeah, when you guys literally just thrive off of negativity all the time, it's nice to see you fail sometimes.
So Dark Admiral saying, I did cash in on the Russia speculation. I found an Ultimate Fallout number 4 1 in 25 in a multi-pack at 5 below. Sold it and picked up an ASM 121 and 122. Not super high grade, but grails. Dig on that. I don't know if you rushed out, you cashed in on their speculation. I get that. I got to admit, I do it with the auction. I wasn't selling books at prices before the big boom. If they're worth that much, you get that much, right? So I understand it. I guess
you gotta make a living.
There's a bit of hypocrisy, I guess, within it. So Jim is
no,
saying, I'm on the side. No,
you don't try to amp up the speculation. You just well, if this is how the market's going, then I'm not going to prevent myself from feeding my family, because
there are certain look, Moon Knight, I don't think should be above 500. His first appearance shouldn't be above 500 at this point. The TV show came and went. Anybody give a fuck anymore? I mean, is his new books, are they selling? I mean, that is a good indication on whether a comic book character is really exciting people that much. How well are they selling? How much interest is there in a new book? How much do you want to see this character in anything, everything at all? The first appearance of She-Hulk was in 1980. It wasn't in 2019 when the freaking TV show came out, or 2020, whenever it was. I forget. Sorry. But that's the way it's being treated. Oh my gosh, they're going to be in the TV show. Therefore, said She-Hulk should now be worth $600 instead of the $100 to 150 that
instead of its actual
Well-
value to the people who
Well,
care
but again,
about it.
it's only worth $600 because there are people that have
Mm.
chosen to buy it at 200 and then buy it
Yeah.
at 300 and then buy it at 400.
yeah.
That's what happens, with the market. I think the movie and TV side is laughable in terms of with background characters. But one other thing that is hurting them and that these speculators should be very concerned about is the further that the character in movies and TV get away from the comic books, the less desirable the comic book becomes.
That has been happening too. You've seen you see
I
it
mean,
in the auction.
I will take example number one here of the show that's coming out tomorrow. This character
Echo's out
that's
tomorrow.
calling itself Echo is so far away from what the character was in Daredevil number 11 that it's ridiculous.
And while we're at this particular part of the conversation, can we also throw in the more the comics mistreat or retcon the characters away from their original ethos, the less worth the new comics are going to have? Because, for example, everyone knows I ride or die with magic-based characters, but I haven't bought a modern Doctor Strange or a modern Dr. Fate appearance in years because I know full well that 9 times out of 10 they're going to mistreat and ruin my characters, and I simply don't want bad stuff on my shelves.
No,
So I
that
will
is
wait
not
until
fair
it
to
becomes a
even
trade and then judge it. If it's still, got a good reputation once it's in trade form, then I might consider getting it, but not until.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Jim,
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, one
Go
other
ahead, and I'm gonna get some
point
comment.
to put out is if CGC didn't exist, if slabbing didn't exist, you would still have the key. You would still have the a key comic app or things like that. People would still be identifying key comics. I mean, hell, they were doing it in the 90s and the 2000s. I mean, I had my collector base, computer program that kept track of my inventory.
Wikipedia,
my
by
comic
the
book
way,
collection.
you can type in first appearance of, and Wikipedia will give you a list of Marvel
Or
DC.
Google, yeah.
Okay, so Jim is saying I'm on the I don't care. I thought they were a scam from the beginning. I agree. And One-Slick says, and you were right, Jim. I found key issue. I'm thankful I found it, nor did I overpay. Okay, look at my auctions. I try my best not to lose money. The whole point is to make money. So I know sometimes I'm on par, or I think once or twice I've gone over, but for the most part, I'm lower than your average bear because I can find them for that price. So think about that. I sold when the announcements came out, I sold a copy of that book. Well, you can't see it. That's Creature Commandos. When this is when, oh my gosh, the TV shows, everything's in there. I was able to sell 2 copies at about $20 each. You can find them out there. Don't get caught up in definitely never get caught up in the TV hype. They're out there. You can find them. I'm not saying you're going to go to a comic book shop and find Ultimate Fallout 4 as it was brought up for $1.50 or anything, but it is possible.
Yeah. Well, and again, what the slabbing did, what the CGC grading did by making a more granular, grading is, let's say comic book X has 1,000 copies that were, that in the old days would be considered, mint near mint, and so you would have had a range of prices because people would have looked at them and thought differently about them. But now you take those 1,000 and let's say 500 of them now get graded. And now you've got, 100 that are 9.2 and 100 that are 9.4 and 50 that are 9.6 and 30 that are 9.8. Now you've created this stratification of what used to just be grouped together in near mint. And that's what's kind of driven the prices up, because now you have created that scarcity of, oh, wow, there's only 30 versions out there that are in this kind of condition. Versus, oh, there's 1,000 that are in this condition.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but the differences, and we've seen it also within the mid grades and such. The differences are so freaking minute. I'm telling to me, I guess I'm the jaded one on this one. They make it so if a book is worth so much, then they get extra money. 9/8. Come on. You ever see that Community episode where they find out A- is a scam and there's a big freaking riot? That's how I feel about 9/8.
As one slick dude says, yeah, the problem is the grading's still subjective. Absolutely. But one of the things that CGC, has done, and I call it the veneer of objectivity. Because you have this, number grading system, and people think, okay, this is a 9.2. All 9.2s are this, and if a comic book looks like this, it's a 9.2. But no, it's still subjective.
We found that out.
It's the same reason why they do similar metrics in any kind of antique or vintage collection. Like that's why the expert class that you see on things like Pawn Stars even freaking exists, is because it's that same veneer of respectability.
So what is an expert? Is it just because CGC said they were? I mean, Eric and I myself have been collecting comics for 40 years. We can't tell a near mint. We can't tell a 9/8 from a 9/2. And that's
the scam, and that's why it is a bubble, because the minute CGC is no longer the prestige standard for treating comics like other antiques, their entire business model goes up in flames.
Let me get some comments. MARANYA saying the only reason a book should be slabbed is to preserve it for a museum because it would turn to dust otherwise. Yeah, see, to me, that's a reason to get them. I mean, personally, sure, absolutely fine. I put mine in frames.
Presentation is one thing, yeah.
Let's see. Not hypocritical. You're running up book. Yeah, I'm not running up books I'm sitting on. That's for damn sure. And unfortunately, I found myself regretting sales, because there have been moments where, like, here's a Dazzler #1. Here's a Dazzler #1. Take them. They're only $7 to $10. Go, 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 go. Oh, did you hear? Those are $50 now because Taylor. Yeah. Speculation killed comics in the 80s, in the 90s, but yeah. Baseball and hockey cards. The baseball and hockey cards died in the 80s, and that's what carried it over in the comics. For the 90s.
It happens with every collectible, and something that I come to understand. Every collectible goes through its high period and its low period, and it's funny, certainly.
Well, because here's the real honest truth of it. Nothing that is designed to be collectible is actually as collectible as things that weren't originally designed to be collectibles.
Oh. Yeah, correct. But it's like you were talking about Pawn Stars. I mean, but go watch Antiques Roadshow, or what was it? Antiques Road Trip, which is the UK version, which is just kind of cool. And you get to hear and see this all the time in terms of, oh yeah, 20 years ago, this style of chair was really popular, but it's fallen in recent years, so you're not going to get as much as you would have, 20 years ago. Everything goes through that.
Dark Admiral says that's the reason I've got slabs. I just want them preserved. Like I said, I think, they're not like permanently sealed, but I do have very tightly sealed frames. I want them to be preserved in a way. Yes, I think it does. But by the way, you can also, if you want, buy slabs off of Amazon as well as CGC style labels. So if you wanted to go for it, you could create false serial numbers, the whole 9 yards. Not saying you should. I'm just saying the possibility of counterfeit out there is beyond just this. In a Disguise says everyone ran out and bought #1s hoping they would be worth money, but every collector would keep them in mint condition. And that's why, of course, you've got more valuable books from the 60s and 70s, and because people weren't running out and throwing.
Yeah, as I said, nothing that is intended to be collectible is as collectible as things that people didn't originally think were going to be collectible.
I started kind of dividing when I started. When I talk about in 1974, that's when I started reading comics. but it wasn't until the 80s where I became a collector. That's when I found a bookstore that sold the bag and backing boards, and I was keeping them in mint condition. You know, before it's like, hey, I'm going to grab these comics, time to take a bath. You know, it's okay. You know, hey, I was a kid. Come on, man. Let's see. Killer Baby saying prices on comics went out of control once the Overstreet Guide started saying this is what I think a book is worth rather than what the collector was willing to pay. That's an interesting take on it. You know, moving it from, and this has happened with CGC, moving it from the market driving the price versus the sellers driving, you know, the buyers instead of the sellers. Let's see. Yes, LK, but the problem with that is great. Okay, that we covered. Look at what happened to Pokemon collectors. They are over cards. I don't know what that means, Undead Quinn, but I know, yeah, there were a couple of valuable cards. Elizabeth never was into. She loves the games. She's got all the games, and I told her actually, do you know the value of this? So she was like, what? I'm like, holy shit, you got the first.
Yeah, the trading card market is millennial crack, basically.
But, yeah, she's got like the original Pokemon game still in it's okay. Yeah, she loves the games. Let's see. Experts are like professionals. They all claim the title but don't do the job equally. Maranya saying, that's from One Slick. Maranya saying, put a book in a frame. You could still pull the book out and read it. Slabs, unless it's super old, is frankly stupid for someone who wants to have a book to read. Yeah, the chances of me pulling these down and reading them rather than like I've got for Creature Commandos, I've got the trade paperback. For all the others, I've got digital if I need. I just went blurry there. Yeah.
This is why I like nice hardcover omnibuses, not only because it treats comics like literature, which I genuinely believe comics should be treated on the same level as literature, but it's the same thing when I buy, you know, actual novels and stuff. I would rather get the nice, you know, faux leather or real leather bound hardcover version because it's what the material deserves. And also, I can read it because it's meant to be read in that format as well.
Am I the only one? Go ahead, sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm going to partially disagree with you with that. The comics, the reason why we have a lot of the creators we have now and the problems we have now is because people started seeing comics as some kind of highbrow literature when in its heyday it was commercial art and it was designed to appeal to the masses.
Now, mind you, I know you didn't intend to, but you kind of strawman me there. I am not saying that comics need to be written like highfalutin art house literature. I'm saying they already were as valuable, as meaningful, as good storytelling as any given literature you care to name. I would put Neil Gaiman's Sandman up against Shakespeare. I would put the original run of Hellblazer up against The Devil and Daniel Webster or something along those lines. Comics don't need to change to become literature. They always have been as valuable or as meaningful as literature.
That leads into the question
I think as meaningful as literature is a good way to
am I the only one that refers to comic books as just books? I know that's how I refer to them. I'm never, oh, that's a comic, it's a comic. No, it's a book. I
make the distinction because I think they deserve the distinction, but not to downgrade them.
All right, let me get some more comments here. Let's see. A comic book is meant to be read, not looking at the cover in a slab that cannot be opened. That's from Killer Baby. Jay is saying Brad Pitt just signed on for the upcoming X-O Manowar movie. Spielberg is going to direct it, and there goes the value. Yes, that's what Jay wants because he's bought all of them. If I had a choice of Tales of Suspense #1, Slabbed, or the Epic collection for Iron Man, I'd take the Epic collection. I would go for the Iron Man because you could buy a whole ton of collections with it. Let's see. Gore, what's up? Pre-2008 and the Marvel film boom. I don't recall seeing the near fetishization of first appearances in collectors' minds like we saw after 2008. The point of absurdity where people paid $50 for Frog Thor. By the way, he's not kidding.
That
For the
started
longest
in
time,
the 90s, at least some
well,
extent.
no, it ended in the 90s because we were not paying that kind of price or the crazy prices. Now, granted, look, throughout the entirety of collectordom, books would rise and fall. There's a book I'm pretty sure you could probably get for $5 each called what is it, Ronin or something from Frank Miller. Used to be huge. Some still, talking about Frank Miller, of course, Dark Knight Returns and Year One still command some good prices, but there always have been ebbs and flows. Speaking of 1980s books, a book that I try to push, Elementals, issue number 1, you would have to pay $15 to $20 for around the early 90s, late 80s. Now you can find collections all over the place in the dollar bins and such. Dark Admiral saying, I only own 2 slabs and bought them both from my local comic shop, both a lower grade that are grails to me. Ghost Rider 1 and Tomb of Dracula number 13, The Origin of Blade. I only have one. It was a gift from, I thought it was behind me. It's a gift from Eric. And he thought it was kind of funny because I did a video on this book, and he thought it was funny that anybody ever wanted to get it slabbed. It is a very stupid book, and the fact that somebody thought it needed to be slabbed is hilarious to both of us. It's Captain Marvel, but it's from the M something or other comic company, who thought that because Captain Marvel was no longer being produced and that they could just grab it like it was what do you call public domain, and Marvel said no. So they did away with that.
Not.
I think the comic book origin of that is on this channel. By all means, do yourself a favor. It is a fun and funny book. It really is. It really is. Let's see what we got. Killer Bebe saying comic books of old were meant to be read by kids, some as adults as form of, and some adults as a form of escapism. Yeah. Maranya disagree strongly, LK. I would gladly prefer a hardbound collection of Iron Man because I can't afford to buy the individual floppies. That's not elitist. You want to respond?
Well, it's not elitist either. I think it's just that when people started calling comic books literature, that allowed a highbrow crowd to start getting in, and again, these
being pretentious about it.
These academics coming in and just, as I say, look at the modern writers,
socio-political themes, non-diegetic nonsense, yada yada.
Yeah. So
that being said, I like the hardcover format because I don't see why superhero content, or cape shit as some people derisively refer to it, isn't put on the same level as H.P. Lovecraft or other forms of literature. Especially, the reason I use the Lovecraft example is H.P. Lovecraft was a pulp writer, which are the natural precursor to comic books, and yet I have a hardcover Barnes & Noble collection of all of his stories, and it's treated like classic literature, as well it should be, because it deserves to be. But people look at me funny when they see on that same shelf I have all of these hardcover omnibuses of comic books.
Well,
because they're that hypocritical and dismissive of the medium of comics, and it's bullshit.
Twan55 is saying, I have a question. I have a House of Secrets 92 first appearance of Swamp Thing in a slab, and the grader's notes appear to agree with the condition of the comic. Should I send it in and for regrade, or just stay put? Hope I wasn't ripped off. I ain't rich, by the way. Are you happy? Like, are you happy with the book? Keep it.
If you don't feel and can't be demonstrated to have been cheated, then who cares?
Yeah,
I mean, if you want to do your due diligence, look at the list that CGC put out. I don't think House of Secrets 92 is on that list. But the other thing you can do is you can go, if I'm going to assume this is a CGC book. If it is, my understanding is you can go to the CGC website. There's a place you can search, you can put in the serial number. It'll pop up, photos of of that book, and you can compare it to the photos they have. And if you have any disagreements, then you can, reach out to them and say, hey, I've got this, otherwise if it looks the same, then, keep it. You're fine.
Gore Vidal saying Comico's The Elements was excellent. Yes, it was. By the way, it was, oh goodness, what's his name? Did Fables.
Bill Willingham.
Yeah. Let's see. I think it's a beautiful slab. The Captain Marvel. It is. I like that book. But then again, it's one of the reasons why I like to put my comics in the frames. I just like the way they look in the frames. I was going to go to Walmart. I just reminded myself I was going to go to Walmart and pick up the. I found the, what is it, 11x8 frames, or was it? Yeah, you can put them on the side and fit two comics next to each other. And I just acquired the first appearance of Huntress, so I'm excited about that. And I've got both first appearances of the Unknown Soldier. So yeah, I want to put those in frames. Chadwick's Concrete was good as well, says Gore. My slab happens to have a car parked on it, says Jim.
I know, Dark Admiral. I'm just saying that if Lovecraft is great literature, and it self-evidently is, how long are we going to have to sit here and say that two comic book universes that have endured for an entire lifetime can't be qualified as literature because, oh, it's in an inferior format? So was pulps the reason they're called pulps is because the paper was made of pulp and it was shit.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter, apparently. So if it doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter. Put comics in nice hardcover formats like you do novels, and we can call them equal because they are.
Okay, so Twan again is asking a pretty cool question. I don't know if you guys would have an answer to it. Can you guys talk about why PGX is so looked down upon? I know I can Google it, but I'd love you guys' take. Now,
well, I mean, my understanding is, CGC was basically the first, and that became the one that became desired by the collectors who wanted slabs. Other companies have popped up, but they don't have the prestige of it. I know there's also, I think it's CGCS. I think there might be one other company out there. Yeah, or CBCS.
Go on.
So CGC is gonna get the premium price because that's the one that the collectors seem to prefer, and the other ones are gonna be, you're gonna get more value than if it's unslabbed, but it won't be at the CGC value.
There were three main ones: PGX, CBCS, and CGC. And now I don't know if the rumors were true. I was on eBay when PGX first started showing up. I was like, oh, okay, well, let's see how they do. And there started rumors. I don't know if they were true rumors or if it was, I like CGC, therefore I have to badmouth the other people, because come on, guys, you know that nerds do this. This guy's good, therefore that guy must be bad. But there was a lot of rumor that they would value a comic in order to get people to send more. So like if you send it to CGC, they may be a little more harsh. PGX was rumored to be the Paula Abdul of them for a while to get a little bit bigger. Once again, that's the rumor I heard in the forums on eBay. Whether or not it was true, I don't know. But I don't think they ever kind of recovered, or they never built the prestige that the others did. But yeah, I think the biggest is like LK said, they were third. They were the third ones out the gate. So yeah. And who wants to listen to little brother?
And yes, Gore, I know that manga and bande dessinée are respected in their respective countries and very good for manga and bande dessinée. I'm just wondering how long it's going to take America to realize that Cape shit wasn't all that shit to begin with.
Okay, CBC slabs are a higher quality, says Jay, and they do signature verification for whatever reason. CGC still refuses to do this. They have to be on. Like when you go to a convention, you have to hire a CGC person to follow you to get the autograph on the comic so they can see it with their own eyes. Hey, Vinny, what's up? What's up? PGX was the third grading company, and they were accused of cutting corners on grading to get them out faster than CGCS. Yeah. There you go. I feel like CGC put out some serious disinformation. It might just be. Like I said, I've heard rumors. Of course, nobody came up with me with paperwork that confirmed it, so I've just got to call them rumors. I always looked at CGC, CBCS, and PGX like the VHS Betamax battle, says Dark Admiral.
Well, I mean, the battle of almost like any industry. And if you look at the history of almost any industry, certainly that has developed and say has been around for 40, 50 years or so, you'll start out with a whole bunch of different competitors. And eventually it'll come down to one or two big names, a couple of smaller 2 to 4 second tier companies, and then everybody else is trailing, and they hope they get bought out by one of the bigger companies. That's just the nature of how it works.
All right. So
MK, the two sides of the Grand Canyon are closer than the polls of Trump versus Biden.
Okay, yeah. Does it freak you out that LK is the light of positivity and I am the negative? At this point in the poll, 47% yes, 53% no. So they're not freaked out by you being positive there, LK.
No.
Keep it up.
If
dude.
only just barely, apparently.
No.
Yeah, but only just barely.
Yeah. Well, don't worry, that'll all come crashing down tomorrow.
Tomorrow, would that go? Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how I go on that. So hello to MK. What's up? What's up? What about CBS ROG rating? Any opinion? You know what? I think at this point in time, if I were CBCS, I would be Universal to Disney. Well, that might be a little inside baseball, but Universal Studios, when Disney came back from the pandemic, it was treating everybody like they were lucky to be coming in. Universal went, yeah, you know what? You're raising prices on everybody. We're gonna drop our prices $10. Oh, you don't like annual pass holders? Annual pass holders are welcome over here. Every time Disney would do something douchish, Universal would respond positively, making people really just steer towards Universal.
You don't want these customers? Fine, we'll take them.
If you don't want to be nice to the guests, we will. I think that this is CBC's moment. In all honesty, I think this is where they step up and go, hey, guess who doesn't have a scandal? Send them on over. We're going to grade them right. And we're going to make sure that nobody else can do this. That kind of, if I were them, I would definitely do something along those lines.
And on a slightly broader topic, I think that the very second someone in Hollywood realizes that's how you do fandom outreach, whoever decides that, wait, alienating and deliberately spiting the fans is a bad thing, is going to clean all the money out of the vaults.
Yeah. So MK, thanks for the compliment there. I try to be logical sometimes, and I'm not an encyclopedia. In any pop culture subject, there is somebody who's far more expert than I am on it. But one thing that I will say about myself is I know a little about a lot of things. So, yeah,
I am really good with comic book history. I wish my memory was better because I actually feel it declining. Things that I could just pop off, even when I started the channel, I'm like, I know that name. It's
not for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee.
It's the Power-ish guy. He was on that one cover shooting Spider-Man 129 Punisher. Yeah, that's the one. That's how I have conversations now. But I know a lot about comic book history. And then I meet Eric Breen, who he has that memory that I don't have. He might not have all the comic book history knowledge I have, but he's got so fucking much that we will definitely cover whatever you want.
In fairness, he also has
let me finish. And then And then he and I meet a guy named Paolo who comes on here a couple of times, and he will mop the floor with us. So there's always someone there. You know, you think, oh yeah, I know this, and it's like, oh yeah, because artist this guy was with the writer this guy, and blah blah blah. Well, actually, the paper was made by their brother. The fuck would know that, except for this guy. You know, it's like
in fairness to you, Englentine, Eric has every comic under the conceivable sun to hand at any given moment. So even if he did have some kind of memory disease, his surroundings would probably fill in the gaps for him. Paolo, I think, actually worked in the industry for a long time, or is working in the industry still. Correct? So.
Okay, I'm gonna show this off because I really like to, and I didn't get arrested the last time. All right, so let's see. This was made a long time ago. I used to be very active on a site called Comic Vine, and I made a list. I was bored one day. Well, actually, I was bored for a week because that's about how long it took to do this list. But this is about 15 years ago, I guess, 20 years ago almost. I mean, it's been a long damn time. Every comic series, miniseries, or one shot I have ever owned. But and this is a list of everything I've ever had in my long boxes. I may have only collected a series or a few issues, or it may have only been a one shot, but I included here. I tried my best to be in alphabetical order. And I have read a shit ton of comics. That's where my knowledge mostly comes from, is what I've read. And also I've decided what the hell I'll read every freaking book I can, like the visual histories, the Marvel versus DC book, Slugfest. And I did this. Holy shit, there's a lot of fucking comics. And this is just the A's, dude.
And speak of the Breen, and he appears. Hi, Eric.
Yeah. But here's the thing, and Eric is here, and so he can kind of back this up. When you read this many comics, and by the way, when I said I read, I mean, I read all the comics involved in this. It is when you read this many comics, it's like a cup that runneth over. You know, after a while, you just start to lose a little bit of the information. You know, I don't remember all those comics. I know I read Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Don't ask me what it was about.
The human brain is a finite resource, and to quote Lex Luthor, not even the greatest of us can compete with time.
Yeah. Oh, well, by the way,
or to quote Bud Bundy, when you try to put a shot glass of knowledge into a thimble size brain, some stuff's gonna spill out.
Well, thank you for the analogy there, dude. I appreciate the confidence.
Well, at least okay is back to being the not nice one.
No, it's one of my all-time favorite quotes from Married with Children. It's the episode where Kelly gets talked into going on the game show for Al, you know, that's all about sports. And it's hosted by Todd Christensen. It's the classic episode because it comes up where she's winning, comes down to the final question, and which high school legend once scored 5 touchdowns in a single game for Polk High, and she couldn't remember.
And it's her dad.
Yeah.
Thanks for the reminder there, Eric. But yes. But speaking of games, I was so sad. Bills versus Dolphins. That should not have ended that way. It should not have.
The Dolphins are just falling apart with all their injuries.
Yeah. But I was very disappointed in that. Seriously. Okay. So anywho, guys, thank you for joining us. I gotta drop out early. Because I have to go pick up my wife, and it is raining, so I want to be early. So, she's not waiting in the rain. We're going to have cold weather. I was told on Thursday it's going to be in the 40s. And thankfully, Gail's got me I got a sweater for Christmas and a jacket. I'm all tooled up here. Yeah, the 40s.
It was raining all day today here.
We got snow for an entire day, like either yesterday or the day before yesterday.
Can you believe the temperature can drop to 40 degrees, Dalton? 40 degrees. Wow. I am. Woo. Not
Call me when you're in the negatives, and then I will feel sympathy.
It is. It's January. Look, it's January today. I had to actually put on pants because it dropped down to 70. But
you poor summer child, you.
But we've got 40-degree weather coming up. I swear, actually, I'm sitting in the house here, and I'm like, wow, I got to open a window. It's hot. I got to put on a fan. It's kind of hot up here. It's -30 today for the next week, says the Elk. England team, we had 7 inches of snow here, you wimp. Hey, you know what? I say the same thing. Come in August, we'll run a race, people.
Well, you'll be in Indiana before
that's
long.
true. I can't say that. I can't say that this year. I think, but that's what I tell people. Come in August, we'll run a race when you're breathing freaking water. I've done that. I went to the mountains, and it's like, where's the humidity?
Well, in fairness, I can't run at the best of times. You definitely with that one. But I'm true.
Yeah, that's true. I'd win a race. It'd be sad if I didn't. There you go.
That would be the story. If you somehow managed to not win, that would be the story, and I would never let you live it down.
MK, I've never run around the house in my underwear. I am the father of 2 daughters. I am the only guy here. No, I've never been. That being said, I do wear shorts all the time. Yeah. Oh, boo-hoo, you had to wear pants like the rest of us, Barbara. I've been in Miami in June and July. My wimp statement about you still stands. Nah, I said August. It's a whole different beast. That is a whole different beast. Anyway, kids, thanks for hanging out with us. If you guys want to stick around, I guess, but otherwise I'm going to shut this down.
Well, if someone wants to click LK onto the screen, we can do a couple more bad comic beatdowns if LK can think of a couple.
Nah, I'm good for tonight. We can
All right.
We can pick it up tomorrow or something.
Especially because we still have 4 to upload.
Yeah, by the way, there was a choice of different topics. Let me get the other one up. I have been waiting to do this book for quite a while. Let me see, and there we go. I think I'm not going to get that out there, but we have been trying to do this this Green Lantern issue number 3. Holy shiitake mushrooms! I can't share the thumbnail. I can't find the thumbnail, but I made it. It's like he saves his male prostitutes in issue number 3, guys. Yeah, so I figure, what the hell?
Oh dear God!
Yeah, you want to be a part of that one. Mm-hmm. So there you go, kids. Thanks for hanging out with us as always. If you don't mind clicking like, share, subscribe. By the way, Jim, I shared one of your videos today. It was a repost from the long box. You commissioned the Four Bush Man. That is active right now. If you haven't seen it, it's the comic book origin of the Four Bush Man, and it's a lot of fun. So please check that out, as well as on From the Long Box, the first black spider. Well, the first Spider Woman. It's Val the Librarian from Spidey Super Stories from the Electric Company. Just did her origin. So please check that out, as well as I think tomorrow it's going to be like the Bushmaster or something. And next week I'm hoping to do the Justice Society. So there you go. Yeah. What I plan on doing is 2 a day, where I'm breaking down issue number 1 because they were individual stories, and I'm also having the individual first story of the first appearance of each of those. So there you go. It's a big project. Keep an eye out for it on From the Long Box. I've been reposting comic book origins that aren't here every morning at 9 o'clock. And I'm trying to get more of these topic things out there as well. So thank you very much for hanging out with us. And as always, thank you very, very much for watching. Have a good night.
Cheers,
Night,
guys.
everybody.
Cool.